Let's say someone enters a public setting, and they ask people around them, how many of you have seen the 1954 Japanese classic film Seven Samurai made by esteemed director Akira Kurosawa? The general response would be, besides who is Akira Kurosawa, would be, no. Now let's put a spin on this experiment. Someone approaches these people and shouts, who has seen A Bug's Life? Three Amigos?
The Three Amigos!
Galaxy Quest? The Magnificent Seven? What about even bigger films like The Avengers, Ocean's 11, or Star Wars? What would happen then? Those people would stand up and say, of course us normal folk have seen those. So they have seen Seven Samurai. Yes, at first glance, this classic film and those other previously mentioned movies, some of which involving cowboys, talking caterpillars, lightsabers, aliens, and Martin Short and Sombrero, could not seem any more different. But this is, in part, true. But each of these movies have told the same stories in their own unique and creative ways. They all, whether knowingly or not, however, are blind followers of the same pristine template established by Kurosawa's masterpiece. A template which, golden as it is, took its own time to form. When crafting the idea for a samurai-focused movie, Kurosawa's original pitch was the day in the life of a more historically accurate guardian. They would wake up, eat breakfast, proceed to their master's castle, and the film would carry on from there until reaching a conclusion in which our protagonist, who made some sort of mistake over the course of the film, was required to go home and take their own life. Now through this lens, the simplicity of many action films today cannot be so maligned. That being said, there is one issue, and this is an issue which many American filmmakers have fallen victim to, that Kurosawa carefully steps around. And this is, and many are familiar with this, overstuffing a movie with needless characters. While 7 protagonists may sound a bit overwhelming, Kurosawa carefully dissected each of the 7 protagonists as if they're the only star of the film. He recorded things such as their apparel, habits, past lives, reaction to battle, and even questionable details such as their favorite foods. His efforts were successful, as the audience was left connected to each of the characters, and even when some of their deaths felt like someone MacGuffin, audiences were nonetheless upset, and hopeful that the remaining characters would avenge their deaths. This is not the only plot detail, made famous by Kurosawa, that many American directors would form cliches out of. The most notable example of this are the many character archetypes inspired by each of the 7 samurai. Kikuchiyo, the reluctant hero, would go on to be the cookie cutter for characters such as Han Solo, William Money, Logan, and Neo. The character of Kambi is shown to be an aging, experienced guardian, who rises to become the wise and esteemed leader of a group of bickering heroes. Ben Kenobi and Steve Rogers, to list a few household names, have also followed this path. And the list only goes on. Kyuzo, the retired, underestimated badass, clearly had a wide impact on characters in cinema, helping to create beloved names like Yoda, Mr. Miyagi, and even John Rambo. But the countless impacts they had on character building should not be these heroes' only legacy. Kurosawa largely helped to make these characters so memorable out of his masterful writing, yes, but what really brought them to life were the actors who took control of them. It is no surprise that Kurosawa was so fascinated by these actors that he would consistently ask them to star in succeeding movies. George Lucas, who had the 7 Samurai story in his mind throughout the entire screenplay of Star Wars A New Hope, even asked Toshiro Mifune, who plays Kikuchiyo, if he would star as Ben Kenobi or Darth Vader. Brilliant of an actor as he is, Mifune declined both the roles, worrying that Star Wars seemed like nothing but another cheap, forgettable sci-fi flick. Performances such as Mifune's in 7 Samurai is a rarity in most action films today. While many westerns have wisely remembered that a good story is incomplete without emotional gravity, it would make headlines if Vin Diesel drops everything in Fast and Furious 9, which is definitely going to happen, and began a crying, goosebump-inducing speech about how his parents were killed by slow drivers, and since that day he has suppressed the trauma by going 50 at his slowest in all residential areas. What makes Kikuchiyo so appealing to the audience is that he is almost the embodiment of everything that makes this movie so enjoyable. Emotion, humor, and powerful moments of badassery made his death an unexpected one, but equally powerful. His 6 co-stars, however, never seem to be willing to surrender the spotlight. Takashi Shimura, who plays Kambi, is never given quite as poignant of dialogue as Mifune, but he makes impressive and haunting use of what he has. None of Kurosawa's successors captured as it is quite as masterfully as him. Today, slow-motion sequences have fallen into a cesspool of overstretched, overused, and forgettable scenes that butcher the dramatic flair. Kurosawa, on the other hand, was somehow aware of this precaution at the time. Consequently, he only slowed scenes down when he knew the overall scene would benefit. Had the kidnapper stumbled out of his house at a normal rate, audiences would not have gotten goosebumps when it was slowly revealed that Kambi had killed him to defend the child. It not only made the wise Kambi's morality clear, but it also showed his effectiveness in battle with one single scene, not having to rely on an expensive war sequence to prove himself. Some cinema fans may be familiar with the famous movies that were initially expected to flop. Star Wars and Guardians of the Galaxy are a few. Who knew Kurosawa played a part in that old cliche as well? At the time of its production, Godzilla was being filmed simultaneously. Toho, the production company behind both films, was nearly forced into bankruptcy as a result. Frightened and unfaithful, they chose to pull the plug on Seventh Samurai a number of times. Kurosawa, as it turns out, ranks among cinema's list of most stubborn directors, standing high alongside Hitchcock and Kubrick. Confident that he is crafting a crowd pleaser, Kurosawa took several visits to Toho's board of directors to personally sway them into producing the movie. Had it not been for his own determination, the action genre would not be near as recognizable with today's standards. So yes, modern audiences may tilt their heads at Seven Samurai and wonder why they were watching the same story yet again, but Seven Samurai does not have the fact that it was the first as its only defense. Even after all the remakes and cookie cutters, it somehow manages to be a refreshing and unpredictable mix of crowd-pleasing thrills, brilliant performances, and breathtaking visuals. And if some snobs may hiss at the dated black and white coloring and disagree, you can't deny that this is a vastly entertaining action flick.